Congress is now demanding a full investigation into the guy. Andy Ogles was one of the first to point this out. This guy is a total full-blown communist. And when you're applying for citizenship here in the United States and you don't actually tell anyone, hey, I'm a full-blown communist, and I really don't have the interests of America at heart, I mean, that would be really, really at odds with what we care about. That's Venezuela stuff. That's China stuff. And if you don't actually make that clear by ticking off certain boxes, you're not fully disclosing everything, then you have to ask, well, could your citizenship be rescinded? Is it on some kind of temporary basis at all? Perhaps not, but it's an interesting question to ponder. And I do think that he's running a certain risk here. Don't forget, he was just made a U.S. citizen like 7 years ago or so. He's from Uganda. Quite a rebel of a guy. His dad was a post-colonial professor. You know what that means, right? We hate all white Europeans. They have ruined the world. I heard this hours on end from Chavez once. I went down there on a story, OPEC-related story, and I was trying to get an interview with him. So I'd go around and like listen to him speak, and he always spoke too long, so we never got around to the interview. But, you know, he had all these people listening to him with all this post-colonial garbage, right? He had just absorbed it and was feeding it out to the people nonstop. You look at what Venezuela is today. It is very clear that hasn't worked. It never works, okay? But anyway, Andy Ogles to the rescue, the representative from Tennessee trying to jump in and do something. Here he is on Newsmax the other night. I want you to see.
Well, so part of the process when you fill out the naturalization forms, which, you know, here's a copy of one here, is you've got to disclose your activities. So like communism, anti-American activities. And so in 2018, when he was naturalized, he failed to disclose some of the things that he had been doing, one of which was joining the Democrat Socialists of America. That's a communist organization, which quite frankly, at that time, would have disqualified him from becoming a United States citizen. So what we're encouraging to do is the Justice Department to look into the timing of his joining that organization. It would have been anti-American. It would have fit the definition of what he would have been required to disclose, and quite frankly, would have made him most likely ineligible to become a naturalized citizen. So if that's true, then the process could begin of him being denaturalized. Now, that being said, even if we can't prove or dot the I's and cross the T's and get this guy on this, it creates the template for these other individuals who come to this country. They're sleeper cells. They want to undermine our way of life. They want to take advantage of our generosity. Enough is enough. Look, I'm a proud American. I love my country, love my flag, I love my God, and I love my family. And I'm tired of us being taken advantage of by the rest of the world.
Well said, right? I mean, hey, it's like Ilhan Omar. Come on, lady. You know, this is a pretty good place. I realize where you came from is not so hot, but you don't want to turn us into you. Again, like think of who we are. We are the United States of America, #1 economy in the world. And by the way, it's good lately. It's good. You see the market, you see the jobs report. Woo! All right? It's good. And it's good because we have the right people calling the shots. And we don't want to change what's good. We want it to get better and better and better. And yet this commie idiot comes in there, and he is an idiot. I don't care how much education he had from the fancy Bank Street School for $65K a year. I don't care that his dad was a professor of post-colonial studies at Columbia University. I certainly don't care that his mom was a producer for Disney. I don't care that he went to Bowdoin College. I don't care about any of this, okay? This guy is a commie who's not that smart, because if he were smart, he'd have actually studied a little bit more so he knew what Econ 101 was. And yet this is the garbage he's pitching New York City.
Toward the Vienna model, we'll have to go beyond the market. We can establish community land trusts to gradually buy up housing on the private market and convert it to community ownership. We can give tenants a right of first refusal to buy out their landlords when buildings go up for sale. And we can fully commit to a new era of social housing, ending subsidies for luxury housing development and using our wealth to build beautiful, high-quality social housing projects that offer good homes and strong communities to everyone. We won't decommodify housing overnight, but we know what we have to do, and we have history to guide us.
Decommodify housing. What is it? Straight out of Marx? Where's that come from? Decommodify housing. He likes to use some fancy terms for a guy who doesn't understand Econ 101 or why capitalism is what capitalism is and why capitalism is great. You know, one of the most amazing things about the United States of America, and this is worth talking about because we're coming up on our big birthday, right? Is that we were the first place to actually recognize property rights. Right? We were the first ones. You think about the founding fathers that these guys want to tear down so fast. Our founding fathers, they knew that liberty could not exist if you didn't have a right to secure your property. So think about that. I mean, it was profound at the time because you go back to those days and you had all the Europeans with their monarchs just, doling out the land as they saw fit. Nobody really owned anything because the monarchs could take it away. Oh, kind of like the communists could take it away. You see, we're coming full circle. With the Mamdanis of the world, they want to take us back to a time that we were all trying to escape, and that this nation, by some miracle, was able to do because we understood the value of property rights. I mean, it's incredible when you think about it. I mean, Adams, when you go back to the Federalist Papers and some of the writings of Madison, he was adamant, right, that you had to protect property. Or you go back to what Ben Franklin was talking about, which was we needed not just property rights, but intellectual property rights, which are really important and actually really paved the way for so much innovation in this country. I mean, if you didn't actually have the right to a patent living in France because the monarch was going to take it over, well, why bother? They understood the good that could come of capitalism and the bad that could come of one monarch controlling everything, much like the Communist Party does, right? They see that they are the ones that should have all the resources and they're going to redistribute them as they see fit. AOC knows better than you what you need. Zohran, oh, he definitely knows better. But he doesn't. Nobody knows better. That's why the free market system is a special, unique system that has made us the envy of the world. The Fifth Amendment, I'm going to read it to you in its original text. It says, regarding property, that no one effectively should be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. That's like an eminent domain. So I'm curious how Zohran thinks he's going to go in and just tax the rich and tax the white, which, by the way, would be completely discriminatory and against the Constitution in other ways. But so you think you're going to go in and just take things from people or tax them and tax them and tax them some more? I mean, the government cannot take a private property. Okay, that's right there in the Constitution. Fifth Amendment. They were thinking about this 249 years ago. It's amazing. And that is what, ladies and gentlemen, created the American dream and created the foundation of the best economy in the world. No one else had done this. You go back to Greek times. Well, maybe for some nobility, they had some property rights. You go back even to England, which may have been the closest at the time. But again, you had to be in a certain kind of rank and file in order to have any of that. Because the everyday person, they didn't qualify. They didn't have any rights. There were no property rights. And what they believed in here in America, Cat Crazy, thank you so much, pointing out that socialism is a system that only works in heaven, where it isn't needed, and in hell, where they've already got it. I love that. I love it. Thank you, Cat Crazy. It's a good one. Let me see if I can put it actually up on the screen. There we go, if you guys can see it. Yeah, okay. Anyway, you get Cat Crazy's point if you're watching in the live chat. That's a good one. It's a problem that we have too many young people now seeking out this utopia that does not exist. Because remember, and I think about it, I'm in the Portsmouth, New Hampshire sort of surrounding area, and there's a lot of history here. You just walk down those brick streets and the cobblestone streets in town, and you're just looking around, and there's John Paul Jones' house, this, that, and the other. And there's all these like just sort of statues, et cetera, everything that kind of this speaks volumes about the history of who we are as a nation. And it's a pretty special history, okay? Because again, no one else has got it. The Europeans couldn't come close. We had a unique opportunity, and part of that freedom is through the extension of a right to life, liberty, and property. All right? So there's a lot of economic reasons for our freedom, and freedom that is tied to the economy. And this is what the Zohrans and the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's and the Lamanicas of the world are missing. And Letitia, they're all missing this. They don't get it because they figure, oh, well, we don't have enough. We want to make sure we get our fair share. And so we're just going to take. Oh, you can't. You know why? Because we got a Fifth Amendment. And we're not going to do that. And we're not going to become that. We're way, way, way too good for that. And you know what? Donald Trump is just getting stronger every single day.